Question: have you ever wondered why some people overflow with gratitude toward God while others seem cold, critical, and spiritually unmoved? In this powerful exploration of Jesus' parable of the two debtors in Luke 7, verses 40 to 47, you'll discover a surprising truth about forgiveness, pride, and the human heart. Why did a notorious sinner lavish love on Jesus, while a respected religious leader remained distant and judgmental? More importantly, which one are you? This thought-provoking video uncovers the hidden danger of self-righteousness, the transforming power of grace, and the life-changing question that every believer must answer. The conclusion may challenge everything you thought about yourself. And what if you were to learn that the greatest obstacle between you and God isn't your past sins, but your inability to see them? You'll also discover why a broken woman was forgiven and transformed while a respected religious leader remained spiritually blind. Was Jesus simply telling a story about debt or exposing a dangerous condition that still exists today? You'll learn how gratitude, forgiveness, pride, and self-righteousness shape our relationship with God. Most importantly, you'll uncover the surprising test that reveals which debtor you resemble. The answer may change how you see yourself and God's grace forever. Have you ever wondered why some Christians seem overwhelmed with gratitude toward God, while others appear cold, critical, and spiritually indifferent? Why do some people worship with tears in their eyes, while others sit in judgment of everyone around them? And here's the question that Jesus asks every one of us: which debtor are you? Stay with me, because the answer may reveal more about your spiritual condition than you realize. Luke chapter 7 records one of the most powerful encounters in the ministry of Jesus. A woman known throughout the city as a sinner enters the house of Simon the Pharisee. She falls at Jesus' feet, washes them with her tears, dries them with her hair, kisses his feet, and anoints them with expensive perfume. Simon watches in disgust. But notice something fascinating. Simon never says a word. His criticism remains entirely inside his mind. He silently thinks, if this man were really a prophet, he would know what kind of woman is touching him. And then something extraordinary happens. Jesus answers a question Simon never asked out loud. How did Jesus know what Simon was thinking? Because he was not merely a prophet, he was God in the flesh. Simon thought he was evaluating Jesus. In reality, Jesus was evaluating Simon. Jesus tells a simple story. A creditor has two debtors. One owes 500 denarii, the other owes 50. Neither man can repay, neither has enough money, neither has any hope. So the creditor freely forgives both debts. Then Jesus asks a question, Luke 7:42. Tell me, therefore, which of them will love him more? Simon answers correctly, I suppose the one whom he forgave more. Jesus replies, you have judged rightly. But here's the twist. The story isn't really about money. It's about sin. It's about grace. And it's about two very different hearts sitting in the same room. The woman knew exactly who she was. She wasn't pretending. She wasn't making excuses. She wasn't comparing herself to others. She understood the weight of her sin. And because she understood the depth of her guilt, she also understood the magnitude of God's grace. Her tears were not merely emotional. They were the visible evidence of a forgiven heart. The greater her awareness of forgiveness, the greater her love became. Simon had the opposite problem. He saw her sins clearly, but he couldn't see his own. He measured her failures while ignoring his pride. He calculated her moral debt while remaining blind to his spiritual bankruptcy. And that's the danger of self-righteousness. It creates the illusion that we're healthy when we're actually sick. The irony is remarkable. The woman everyone considered far from God was moving toward him. The religious expert who appeared closest to God was actually the one resisting him. Most people today identify with the woman. Very few identify with Simon. But perhaps that's because Simon's sin is harder to detect. The woman had obvious sin. Simon had the deeper, less obvious sin of pride hidden in his heart. Pride, self-righteousness, judgmentalism, spiritual arrogance. The truth is, both debtors were bankrupt. One owed 500, the other owed 50. but neither could pay. And that's the point. Salvation isn't granted because someone owes less. Salvation is granted because Christ forgives what no one can repay. Whether your past is filled with public failures or private pride, you stand before God exactly the same way, needing grace. Ask yourself a few questions. When you think about God's grace, are you moved by it? Do you spend more time confessing your own sins or discussing the sins of others? Do you see yourself primarily as a forgiven sinner or as a person better than others? When someone else receives mercy, are you grateful or resentful? Your answers may reveal whether your heart resembles the woman or Simon. You see, Jesus is teaching that those who never forget what they've been forgiven will love more deeply, while people thinking they've needed little forgiveness also loves very little. The central message of the parable of the two debtors is not that some people are sinners and others are not. It's that all of us are debtors. Every one of us stands spiritually bankrupt before God. The difference is not the size of the debt. The difference is whether we recognize it. The woman left transformed because she knew she needed mercy. Simon remained unchanged because he thought he needed none. And that leaves us with the same question Jesus placed before Simon nearly 2,000 years ago. And perhaps an even more important question: have you become so familiar with grace that you've forgotten how much you actually needed it?